Tesla has reinvented and disrupted the entire auto industry and became the best at those technologies that they have pioneered for years. But things have changed. Now, when Tesla invents something, they don't always become the best at it because other brands have figured out that, they can just borrow some of what Tesla invents and become sometimes better at it than Tesla itself. BMW, out of all brands, seems to be a beneficiary of that phenomenon. What that technology is, and is BMW really beating Tesla at its own game? Well, I'll tell you all about it in just a second. And as always, I'll take questions from you, my live audience. And we're going to start right now. Welcome to E4 Electric, where I reveal the truth behind the electric car headlines. So if you dig that, definitely click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so first of all, this is my last live stream from here in California, where I lived for 30 years. I'm leaving, and the video about why and where I'm going, and honestly, I might actually be leaving the United States as well. That video is up. I know you have some questions, and hold on to those because I will answer them, probably closer to the end of this live stream. But for now, let's talk about this article that I saw the other day when I was scrolling through my Google feed. And their article was titled BMW Beating Tesla at Its Own Game. There it is. And I was like, what game? Like, how can a BMW beating Tesla at anything really? I mean, unless it's making the front of your car look like a monkey butt, then yes, BMW is definitely the champ, pun intended. But apparently the article was talking about 4680 batteries, these babies right here. It's amazing what you can get at Etsy. Really, anything can be 3D printed. So a bit of a smuggling device too, I guess. So obviously, when they were unveiled a couple of years ago, it was a big breakthrough because of many things that Elon told us. And Tesla has launched their original production line in Fremont. Then they tried to move the production to Berlin, where their new factory is, but because of a lot of logistical issues, they now looks like are moving it to Texas. But meanwhile, producing it still here in Fremont, California, literally 10 minutes away from here, at least for the next few days, because I'm leaving on Sunday. Now, by the end of January of this year, they've actually ended up making 1 million of these, which does look like a lot, but it actually is only enough for about 1,000 of Model Ys, because that's where they're putting them in. But by the end of this quarter, they're targeting 1,000 of actual cars using these batteries per week. And that's actually something. Now, however, if you noticed, the cars that are being produced with these batteries are not really cheaper. As a matter of fact, all Tesla, including Tesla Model Y prices, has gone up this year. So they're not cheaper. And also, they're not going any further in terms of range. Also, Elon Musk just mentioned that 4680s are not going into the semi trucks that are now being delivered in this quarter to customers finally after 5 years. So things have not gone as planned, which is, not surprising. This is a very, very new technology. Now, about a year ago, once Lucid has started delivering their Lucid Air sedan and, got some street cred because they became the top EV with the longest range over Tesla. For the first time, anybody was able to do that. And of course, Lucid CEO Peter Rawlinson has been taking a lot of beatings on social media from Elon. So he fired back and he said, obviously 4680s are a good step forward, but people think of this as a huge breakthrough, and they're really just fantasy. He was kind of suggesting that it's kind of a same old technology, just in a better packaging. Well, a lot of people obviously didn't really like that, including Sandy Monroe, who at that time was still a part of this channel and was a weekly guest. And when I ran into him at the Los Angeles Auto Show, well, we didn't run into each other. That date was scheduled, and we were talking about it. Sandy wasn't very happy with that. And let me play that clip to you in just a second. But before that, let me talk about the sponsor, because this sponsor is a bit special. And I usually don't do one-offs. Usually my sponsors, become partners for a long time. But this one, it's a charity that approached me several days ago because they have something really cool. And the Tesla raffle that they're doing is literally just about to happen. So, do you want to win a Tesla Model S Plaid this week? Well, our friends at the nonprofit Sparrow Worldwide are selling raffle tickets to help families in need. Tickets are only $150, which is actually one of the lowest I've seen in these raffles. And the drawing is this Saturday. Only about 2,000 tickets have been sold right now, so you have a pretty good chance of winning. So go to the Freedom Raffle link in the description of this video and get one of the best chances to win a Tesla Model S Plaid while contributing to a good cause. So please check them out. And like I said, even if you're just being selfish, mathematically, this appears to be a pretty damn good deal to me. All right, so let's get back to Sandy Monroe. Let me play you a clip of what he said in response to Peter Rawlinson claiming that 4680s are basically a fantasy. This is what he had to say.
Now, we've talked about Lucid using 2170s.
Yeah.
Now, Tesla is moving to 4680s, and yeah. And this is where you might not like where this conversation is going to go, because Peter Rawlinson, the CEO of Lucid, basically recently came out and said, listen, 4680s is nothing but a fancy packaging. There's no breakthrough there. There are some, advantages, but mainly is, it's just a fancy packaging. It's bigger battery, just has more energy, and it's a wash as far as between that and 2170s.
Really?
He couldn't say it before having the best range in business. Now he's got some credibility. What say you?
Without swearing?
Oh no,
And
please.
after-
We can. I was going to say, please.
We should say, I had
you
to
can-
take a drink there.
yeah.
So for you people watching, we are at the LA Auto Show. It's been a long day. I usually had expletives, but it's with Alex show. I don't want to ruin anything. But anyway,
I have delicate ears.
and delicate ears. And so the lady downstairs and I at the bar, we hit it off, and we're both old, and she gave me a lot to drink. And it's a good thing, because right now my head is spinning trying to figure out how to not throw Mr. Rawlinson under the bus. But I can't think of anything, so here it comes. That's crap.
All right. So, well, one thing about Sandy, you got to give it to him. You never have to guess what he's thinking. So he went on to talk about all the benefits that Elon Musk, was outlining about the batteries. And, bottom line is, we could only rely, and Sandy could only rely on what Elon was telling us. Obviously, one mistake I think people make a lot of times is they still take Elon for his word, and definitely in terms of timing, because, these 4680s, sooner or later, they will become, I'm assuming, hoping, what Elon said. However, Sandy himself ended up doing some teardowns, obviously. And also there were teardowns done by others, including the University of California, UC San Diego. And so both kind of confirmed that essentially 4680 cells, at least that are going into Teslas right now, are basically the same chemistry, same thing as 2170s, just in a different casing. Now, granted, because of the bigger casing, there are many benefits, including the energy density, but apparently the walls of this are like 3 times as thick as 2170s, which kind of rolls that theory back. But there were two biggest benefits that right now have not made it yet, I'm assuming, into this 4680s. First of all, they use graphite and not silicon as promised. And secondly, Elon Musk said that these are going to be cobalt-free, high nickel cathode. And, Sandy's own teardown, analyzed it and said they're pretty much the same as, the same NMC 811 chemistry. So as you can see, it does look like it is some progress, because they are making them and they're making more and more of them, but not exactly what's been promised. And don't get me wrong, innovation is hard. I mean, innovation is hard. And honestly, you got to give Tesla all pretty much the credit in this industry, because almost everything good that we have in our electric cars has been pioneered by Tesla. including this new technology. Now, of course, there's a solid state batteries coming, and I honestly don't really understand why Tesla is not jumping on that bandwagon, but it doesn't appear that they are. But at the same time, you got to give, Peter Rawlinson some credit, because he did turn out to be right, at least for the time being, that, these are not exactly a breakthrough just yet. Now, here we come to a different part, and kind of the biggest point of this video, because, even with this chemistry, this is still a better battery overall. So why didn't, by the way, this is not that genius of an idea to have like just less casing around it, therefore the weight is going to be less, right? Like you don't have to be genius to come up with that, but yet nobody did. Tesla did. So, however, at this point, while Tesla trying to ramp it up, and of course being the first one is the most difficult thing, others have basically kind of copied this. All right, and many companies are doing it. Obviously, CATL, the CATL, they're the battery cell manufacturer. NIO, and the list is pretty long. The honorable mention goes to this Israeli-based company that just kind of came out of nowhere called StoreDot. They've actually been producing them for a year now, and they're calling them 100 in 5, meaning these batteries are supposed to provide 100 miles in 5 minutes of charging, which actually I think is a pretty good concept. So a lot of these companies started to do this, and also started to suggest that this should be part of the actual structural. The battery becomes a structural battery. So it's almost unfortunate, because I would like these companies to maybe invent things themselves. There's got to be things that they can do to invent, and not just consistently copy Tesla. But, when I saw this article, right, it kind of said, well, BMW is beating Tesla at its own game. And I was like, okay, well, I'd like to know. So I read the article, and, so BMW is coming up with their Gen 6 batteries. And it looks like they're going to be 46 80s, because, essentially it's 46 millimeter by 80 millimeter. And they're going to be 46 95s or 120. So, longer or taller. I mean, I guess in Germany, everything is taller, including batteries. Now, it's going to have less cobalt and more nickel, which is great for environment, because obviously of mining cobalt. And also, here's another thing, which I don't know quite what this means, but maybe you guys can explain, because I'm definitely not a chemist. Its anode is silicon-doped graphite rather than ordinary pure graphite. Now, I don't know what silicon-doped graphite is. I'm going to assume it's graphite that smokes a lot of silicon on weekends, but I'm sure there's a better explanation and application to that. Now, here's what BMW is doing. Besides that, obviously, that's going to benefit them with his batteries. But at the end of the day, it's still not, we can't call it the breakthrough at all. But what they're doing different than Tesla, they're actually outsourcing this to CATL, CATL, and I think a few others. Something that Tesla actually ended up doing after they realized they were struggling with the original production. And then BMW is planning to build six factories just to make these cells. If they're going to go through with this definitely is a major news for BMW. Now, these are supposed to provide 30% more range, and a cost will go down by about 50%. But I mean, of course, we'll see. They have to execute. Now, this is not tomorrow. This is not even next year. This is something they're doing by 2025. And, this article suggested that, look at BMW. They're going to have the longest range EV. They're beating, Tesla at their own case. Here's the thing, no, we need to see it. 3 years, that's a long time in this industry. So we'll see if they're going to execute. And also, it's kind of silly to assume that Tesla is just going to sit on their butts and do nothing. They're definitely going to propel further, and so are the others like StoreDot and CATL themselves and so forth. So we'll see if this is going to put BMW on top, but this is definitely good news for BMW nevertheless. But this brings me to a bigger point. Look at what just happened, right? So BMW is going to have essentially the same thing that Tesla did, except for Tesla invented it, and they've kind of overpromised and underdelivered, at least at this point. And everybody is obviously looking down on that, because look, Tesla is underachieving. But then BMW had pretty much no expectations. I mean, we stared at the i3 for 8 years as the marvel of electric technology from BMW until this year with the i4 and iX. arriving, and now they look like a genius. Look at that. We got the 46 whatever 120s now is going to be a structural battery pack, and look, we're going to have better range, and it's going to cost us less. By the way, when companies say that it's going to cost them less, it's going to cost them less. It's not going to cost you less. I don't see cars. I mean, yes, with maybe Chevy Volt is an exception. I don't see prices going down that much for electric cars, especially BMW, especially moving forward. So, will this continue? Is this a phenomenon that's kind of unfortunate for Tesla? But at the same time, I guess as consumers, we don't care. As well, we get the best products we can. It's we'll have to now. Before I get to your questions, by the way, I always wanted to mention that a couple of days ago I went down the street here in Alameda, California, literally down the street from me, because Scion, this is like a solar power electric car, kind of like Aptera, only with like 4 wheels. Here it is, a beautiful shot. This is an actual shot of it with a beautiful view of San Francisco and the bridge. So I got to drive it. I didn't get to drive it. I get to ride in it. Even the CEO of the company couldn't actually drive the car, believe it or not. They're like only like few people licensed to do this in their company, and he's not one of them. But we spent some time chatting, and I have some clips from my interview with him. So it is. You can see it on this Sundays when I'm going to release it as I'm driving out of California. So this is definitely going to be a bittersweet. But okay, so let's get to some questions. And again, I will answer the questions about about the whole California thing is a little bit later. But all right, so Casey says, interesting looking, excited for BMW's feature in the electric space. When you say interesting looking, do you mean BMW or this guy here? By the way, are you digging the new glasses or what? I honestly spent like 2 weeks shopping for the new glasses, and I like what I picked. And I also put some anti-glare stuff on it, so the light is not really hitting me as hard, but I definitely look smarter. I feel like I definitely look smarter in it. But BMW, I have to say, has kind of stepped it up lately with the i4 and iX, right? They just kind of came up with a good, decent looking. Again, I hate the grill. I just don't understand why I keep going with this, what I call monkey butt front grill. But it is a BMW. It's got all of the features, decent range. I believe they both 300 plus miles. The pricing is pretty decent, definitely up to par. And it is. I mean, they're really making a good case. Now, I was actually making another video, and maybe I'll still do it later next week or the week after that. About Mercedes. Do you know how many actual electric car models Mercedes has on the market like right now? There's like 7. I think Mercedes has more electric car models right now than any brand. Maybe Volkswagen Group, but just only because Volkswagen Group has a lot of different brands, right? But it is definitely unbelievable. So, all right, well, let's get back to the actual topic here. Check bound. Love that username. Structural batteries. I guess the risk of having your car written off due to battery damage in a minor collision is relatively high. Maybe it's cheaper to make. I think not great for the buyer. Now, I agree with you there. So that also goes to the one-piece casting that Tesla is doing, right? And this has been my concern all along, and I've addressed it with Sandy. But here's the thing. You're in a car accident, right? And, it wouldn't be a total loss in another car. But if you damage that one piece, I know it's stronger than a bunch of other pieces, but if you damage that one piece and you have to replace like half essentially of your body, the structural body, your car will probably going to be written off. Same thing with the batteries. You're right. If the batteries are going to be much harder to replace, if the batteries are damaged, then and it's part of the structure, all of a sudden it's structural damage and not just the component damage, and the insurance companies will most likely have to, basically write it off. But what do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to pay for all of these cars being written off because, of a relatively minor damage having to basically be completely done? You and I, right? So this is definitely something to think about. And once again, cheaper to make, I don't understand why people get excited about cheaper to make unless you are major shareholders or hold any shares in Tesla or BMW or whatever, which is, there's a whole different conversation. But I am always been shocked how much regular daily consumers are on the side of the very companies that kind of sometimes screw them over or don't always deliver the best product and service. Because yes, cheaper to make for them. Guess who gets to keep the extra profits that they're going to make on that? I mean, I just mentioned in the case of Model Y, it doesn't seem it's the consumers. It's the company. As a matter of fact, Tesla has just once again released the fact that they are making more profits in terms of percentage, the profit margin on every car than pretty much any other manufacturer, pretty much ever, right? Which means all of these technology advances are really for the investors in Elon Musk himself rather than for you, the Tesla driver. Arnie Carlson says faster charging needs higher battery voltage. That's true. And this is why I'm kind of surprised that Tesla did not switch to 800 or 900 volt systems like, Lucid and Porsche and so forth. And that is the key. But it's not just about the faster charging, right? It's about the resistance of the battery chemistry and many other things. So, it's a combination of things. But yes, I'm a little surprised that Tesla hasn't switched to 8 or 900 volt charging, because that will definitely put them on, probably most likely on top once again. Right now it's Lucid, right? And then Kia and Hyundai are up there also, I believe 20 to 80% in 16 minutes. So but yeah, absolutely agreed. All right, I'm looking forward to all of your comments when we repost this video. As you know, we repackage it and repost it the next day. And thank you for those of you who have been hanging out with me live here today, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. By the way, Tom couldn't make it here because he forgot about this. And he's literally up in the air in an airplane right now, flying to another state. I should probably give up his location. So I'm looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time. And remember to stay charged.